Hi, this is Hyperwave. I'm Leah Wald and here with Tyler Jenks. And today we are going to talk about Hyperwave. So we're going to talk about what happened last night and where we are now. If you watched Tone's video last night, Bitcoin looked nasty. Although as mentioned today in the morning brief, we do have some opportunities for potentials to look better than last night. So the door is open. And actually, Hyperwave says the same, as Tyler's going to talk about. However, if you guys have been noticing, we did bounce below the Hyperwave 3 line. And now we're sitting 40 points below that line and still falling. Although we were 300 points actually above it just about an hour ago. So it's a bit confusing. So Tyler, what's Hyperwave telling us?
Great. Thank you, Leah. And thank you, everybody, for listening in. Tough night last night when we dropped all the way down to 7,600, almost 500 points below the phase 3 hyperwave line. But as I watched it, we started getting a nice bounce, and in the early hours this morning we retook the hyperwave line, and then we continued up another 300 points higher before fading. But just what I have described gives, in my mind, additional proof of how powerful these phase lines can be. They are also consistent with many other trading systems, as you would imagine. And it does not surprise me that multiple proven systems, such as sequential and Elliott wave, are giving similar potential bullish readings, as is hyperwave. So let's get right into it. And I will pull up the screen that I have been watching closely. And what we're looking at here is a 2-hour chart, so we can look at the details, and then I'm going to move out. The only line you see on here is the phase 3 line. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that today. We're going to keep this to about 15 minutes. But I've been getting a lot of questions about how it is that I can predict what next week and the next week and the next week will be for the line. And the answer to that is very simple. Once the line has been drawn, it will not change. And it's moving up at a slope, and that slope is easy to determine just by looking at weekly prices on the line. So all you need to do, if you draw the line yourself, is you can go out as far as you want into the future, and you'll be able to tell where that line will be. It's moving up at a delta, or a rate of change that's constant. It will not change. So we can even predict where it'll be 2 years from now. Okay, let's look at the chart. We dropped to 7,665 last night on this candle, which was approximately 500 points below the line. And then we had a reversal. This turned out to be a very nice reversal candle with a long wick, followed by an explosion up back above the line. This is a 2-hour candle, remember. And after that 2-hour explosion, we had another up candle where the wick did drop below the line. Then a third 2-hour candle where the wick was slightly above the line. And then this morning, after running to over 8,400 on this 2-hour candle, 8,418, we have started a dramatic drop back down below the candle on this 2-hour candle below the hyperwave line. So that's just basically what we've been looking at. But let's take it up to a higher count, which is a 1 day. On the 1 day, we dropped to the same 76.65, and now we've got a hammer in which the upper wick is shorter than the lower wick, which is at this point bullish, but we are still on a daily basis slightly below the line. We're trading at 80.10 right now, and the line is coming in this week at 8096. And we've got a long way to go for the daily candle. I'm going to go out to the important one, which is the weekly candle. This is the way the weekly candle looks with the drop down. You can barely see it coming below the hyperwave line because it's such a long period of time. This one, this week was actually at 9,900 at the top. So we've dropped from 9,900 down to the low of 76. And then we are right back on the line right now. I made the comment in my opening that what this shows me is the validity of this line. It doesn't tell me if it's going to break or not going to break, but simply the action on the various time periods, starting with the 30-minute, the 1 hour, the 2 hour, the 4 hour, regardless of how you break this down into a time sequence, all the way up to the weekly, the action shows that there is something invisible there, which I know, and now you know, to be a phase 3 trend line. And going back to the beginning of where we started drawing that trend line, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 touches on that line. And then this one a month ago, 9, and then attempts to get down to it or lift off from it. And then this is the 10th touch going on right now. Very difficult to argue that there is not something there, although it's invisible to most people. The hyperwave system shows you where it is and also shows you where it will be in the future. Okay, so what do we expect to happen? I still believe that this action is bullish, but we've got a long way to go. We're sitting on a Thursday. We've got to make it through Friday, Saturday, and all of Sunday until 8 o'clock. Hopefully, we are going to see another bounce later today on a shorter time period, like these 2-hour candles, in which this turns out to be more than simply a 1 to 4 period bounce before heading lower. But we can't eliminate the possibility that that's all it is we got a very strong bounce, and now we're running out of steam again. So we're going to have to just watch this very carefully today. I will be watching and sending out tweets as I see any change. But right now, to me, we are building a bullish potential picture. Now I'm going to refer both to Tone Vase and the sequential system and his thought of a 7,500 approximate testing. We got down to 7,600, but in his explanation, we could still drop down to 75, maybe even a little bit lower. And that would not change my picture at all because we've still got time before Sunday's close to reverse even another test down at 75 or 76 back to the upside. And Haijin Lee has a very interesting count this morning on Elliott Wave that shows we could go back down one more time. It's not necessary, but we could go down one more time and maybe even slightly lower than this 7,600 to complete a very large count that would result in a tremendous up move on Elliott Wave. So we've got three different systems with three completely different techniques that have the possibility of this being a bottoming formation ready for a very large move up. We will know for sure on Sunday using Hyperwave, and we'll let the other experts with the sequential and the Elliott Wave make their own determinations. Now, I want to show you a couple of other things I've done on this chart by going to the weekly, just so there's no misunderstanding. This is my best interpretation of the phase 2 line. And it's coming in right now, right around the 4,000 level. I will put it at 3970. But as we get closer to it, I will sharpen my pencil like I did for the phase 3 line. No need to do it now, but just know that somewhere around the 4,000 level is where I believe we will go if on this Sunday we close below 8,096, which is where the phase 3 line will be on Sunday's close at 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. To me, this is inviolate. If we close below this line, then this line is no longer valid in terms of Hyperwave. And what it says is the phase 2 line has been the valid line from the beginning. So I'm getting a lot of questions about what is the probability that this phase 2 line will hold. And my conclusion is that the phase 2 line will probably not hold. It might, but I don't like the construction of this phase 2 line being so short before moving up into what looked like this phase 3 line. That does not mean that it will not find support, but I believe the probabilities are that if we can't hold the phase 3 line with 10 touches going back, that the phase 2 line with only 2 or 3 touches is going to be more powerful. I will revisit that question if it needs revisiting, meaning if we clearly break the phase 3 line, we will have some time to do analysis before we get to phase 2. I still believe the greater probability is if we cannot hold this phase 3 line, we're going back to the beginning below 1,000. And as I say, we will revisit that. So that is where we are on Bitcoin for the day, for the week. And I've given you some projections in terms of the next following weeks, because even if we hold as of Sunday, 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, above 8,096, and we're only 9 points away from that right now. Now we are 1 point above it. You can see how close this call is going to be unless we really get going here and maybe we can talk it up a little bit today. But if we do a hold above 8,096, then starting at 8 o'clock, a new candle will form. And I've given you numbers on my tweets of what that number is for next week. We don't have to worry about 8,096 anymore because we will have gone up to somewhere around 8,200 and maybe a little bit higher. You can check my calculations by looking at my Twitter feed. And the following week, again, the price is going to go up because this line goes up. 8,096 will become meaningless after 8 o'clock on Sunday. Yes, Leah?
Yeah. So my last question for you is going to be, should we buy Tone's Buy the Dip t-shirt? I love that from the live chat. I think it's a perfect way to end it. But just one comment, and then please comment a little bit further, Tyler. My understanding to Luke. So technical analysts and fundamental analysis really differ, right? And TAs begin their analysis with charts, right? So that's why we're always looking at charts. While fundamental analysts start with a company's financial statements, where news is very important for edge, right? But TAs believe that there's often little reason to analyze a company's financial statements since the stock price already includes all that relevant information. So as TA practitioners, we really focus on analyzing the stock charts itself for hints into where the price may be headed. That's why we talk about all that. So the news brief, I think, is a great place where we can definitely bring that up, and happy to talk about news. But that's often why we're not throwing too much news into these stories when we're just talking about price and how to trade. So Tyler, did I kind of get that, or do you have different views?
No, you've got it exactly right. I believe that all the news is in the price. Everything known up to the moment the last tick takes place in the price of anything is all the news is absorbed into that price. And therefore, you can try to figure out what news is significant, what is not significant, but the price has already figured it out because it's the sum total of all knowledge worldwide at that moment. And the next tick will be the same. It's in there somewhere. So you can either try to figure it out, which I often do. I often use fundamental analysis to back up what I'm seeing on the charts to give me more confidence when the probability is close one way or the other. But I never do it the other way. I did for the first 20 years of my career, but for the last 20, I lead with the technicals. So that's a great question. And I will close and then turn it off to you, Leah, with just one more comment. Thank you for all the positive comments about Consensio. It's brand new for all of you. I know we've only done one vlog on it. We're going to do many more. I challenged you by saying, try to figure out what would happen if we had one more line, one more moving average. And I've gotten a number of responses, and they are all grossly low. You've got to shoot much, much higher. The actual answer is magnitudes higher from what people are calculating right now. So you have to sharpen your pencils, and you can refer to our last vlog and look at how we broke down those 13 sub conditions and try to do the same thing with one more moving average. And at some point in the future, we will give you the right answer. I'm hoping somebody can come up with it. And thank you very much for listening, Leah.
Absolutely. Everybody, thank you so much. And until next time, have a wonderful day.
Great. Bye-bye.